Hey ladies and gentlemen, welcome back. Today we're going to be talking about how we can write the equation of a graph when we're only given 2 points. Let's go ahead and let's get started. So here we have the instructions that say write an equation of the line that passes through the given points. And we have the points -2, -1, and 0, -5. So in order to do this, we're going to use the equation for slope. Okay, now this is actually the same equation as rise over run, except when we have a graph like you saw in the last video, we can simply just count the spaces to find what these values are. Now when we have 2 points, we're going to actually have to plug them into this formula, and the formula essentially just takes the y value of our second point and subtracts it from the y value of our first point. So in this case, y2 and y1, well, y2 is the y value of my second point, which in this case would be -5. And y1 would be the y value of the first point. And we can use this on the top. Now for the bottom half, x2 will be the x value of my second point, and x1 will be the x value of my first point. And we use this to find the slope again, and we want to write an equation in the form of slope intercept form, y equals mx plus b. This will help me find my value of m. So let's go ahead and let's get started and let's try to see how we can do this. Let's plug our values in, and plugging in my values, we do it correctly. y2, which we already discussed, is -5, minus y1, which in this case is -1. All of that above x2, which is 0. Well, I don't really need that one in parentheses. 0 minus x1, which in this case would be -2. And the only reason why I put them in parentheses is because I have two negatives next to each other, which we know in math, and I see this on the top and on the bottom. And we know in math that when I have a negative minus negative, it actually turns into a positive. So these become addition. And I have -5 plus 1, which leads me to -4. All of that above 0 plus 2, which is 2. My fraction would then simplify. -4 divided by 2 is simply -2. So this is how I find m. M is equal to -2 in this case. Now I need to find my intercept. And the way we find our intercept is we go ahead and we plug in our slope into our equation. We got y equals -2x plus b. And what I want to do is I want to take one of these x and y values. I have 2 pairs of x and y values. I can use one of these pairs to help me find what b is, and I can plug them in to this equation. So I can either make this x1 and y1, or I can make this x2 or y2. And I plug in one of the values that I have. Because I like using the number 0 and I like plugging in the number 0, I'm going to go ahead and plug in x2 and y2 into this equation, which would get me -5 equals -2, and I get x2, which is 0, plus b. -5 would then equal -2 times 0 is just 0, plus b, which is the same as just -5 equals b. And I have now found that b is equal to -5. Which means my equation to this line would be y equals -2x, with my value b now, plus -5, which is the same as y equals -2x minus 5. And that would be my answer for this first one. So now let's look at another example where we have a different set of points. Here we have 0, 1 and 2, 2. And I'm actually going to show you in this one as well an easier way to spot your y-intercept. Sometimes when you see your first 2 points, you might want to check to see if one of those is in fact a y-intercept. Y-intercepts always have the same format where the x value is going to be 0 with a different value for y. So if you have a point that begins with 0, where the x value is 0, then that is probably or in fact, your y-intercept. So in this case, without even doing any work, I see that I have the point 0, 1. This tells me that my y-intercept is just 1. So I know right off the bat on this problem that b equals 1. We actually could have done this in the last problem as well. But just to show you another way to how to find the y-intercept, I wanted to show you what would you do in case they didn't get you the y-intercept. But I can see here, 0, -5, that's actually a y-intercept. If I were to graph that point, it would be on the y-axis, meaning that's the point where this line would cross the y-axis. So I simply could have jumped, instead of doing all of this work, I could have known that b equaled -5. And I could have just plugged that in and gotten this right away. So let's go ahead and let's look at this one. So all I would have to do now for this problem is label my points. Again, the y value of my second point is y2. The y value of my first point is y1, which we just found out. That's my y-intercept. Pretty cool. This would be x2. This would be x1. X values of our second point and our first point. And all we're going to do is we're going to plug these in. And on the top, I'll get y2, which is 2, minus y1, which I have as 1. On the bottom, I get x2, which is also 2, minus y1, which in this case is 0. 2 minus 1 would be 1. 2 minus 0 would be 2. So m is equal to 1/2. And now I simply plug those into my formula, y equals mx plus b. So y is going to equal m, which is 1/2, x, plus b, which is, we found out, is 1. And that would be the equation to this graph. So I hope that you now understand how we can use a slope formula, y2 minus y1 over x2 minus x1, to find the slope that we can then plug into slope intercept form. And now hopefully you have an idea also on how we can use a point and the slope intercept formula to find what our intercept would be. But like I said, you might want to check your 2 points first to see if they gave you a y-intercept to begin with. A lot of times that saves us just a little bit of time. And hey, it's math. We don't all, sometimes we try to find the best ways to do less work. And if I can do less work, look out for those methods. You know, why not? You still get the same answer, and it's thinking smarter, not harder. As always, I hope you found this video helpful, and thanks for watching, and tune in for these other videos.